Hello, everyone. Okay, can you hear me? I'm waiting for the clicker, guys, but I'm Farouk and I don't understand Spanish, but you know what? I could understand what the previous speaker was talking about thanks to Google Translate. I had the English to Spanish translation. She was talking about. So, for those of you who might need some help from English to Spanish, I recommend Google Translate. You could have it on looking at your phone and you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. So, but I assume, okay, this is just trusting out my clicker. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning again. Nice to see all the fresh faces out here. By the way, am I speaking at the right pace? Do you all understand me? Perfect. I see some feedback from some people on the other side. Again, as I said, my name is Farouk, and let's talk about why you should listen to me talk about AI. Okay? So, I have had a lot of experience teaching at different universities. Currently, I teach at Harrisburg University, which has a presence here in Panama City. Okay. In addition to that, I have been involved on the commercial side with several companies, starting with the company, not starting with, but one of the companies that I worked with is a company called Qualcomm. Their chips are typically there in the iPhones, etc., that you might have with you. And the App Store, the first App Store was not created by Apple. It was created by Qualcomm. You might have a trivia question. It was created by Qualcomm, and I worked on the first App Store. Of course, Qualcomm was not very good in marketing, so not many people know about it. And then I have worked on a couple of my own startups that I started. One of them was applying artificial intelligence in the space of agricultural technology, helping farmers. And lately, I've been working on another startup which applies AI in the space of educational technology. Okay. And that's where I've had a lot of experience building AI systems. And so, with that, let's get into the plan of the talk. I will have 5 sections of the talk. And remember, these will be as questions. Just like any professor, at the end of it, we will have a quiz, we will have 5 questions. And anybody who does not answer the 5 questions on the quiz, you stay back for 1 more hour of my lecture. So if you are not paying attention, you get 2 hours of me talking to you. If you are paying attention, you get out in maybe 45 minutes. Okay? Is that a deal? So, with that, let's talk about the 5 questions that I talk about. Again, I like to move around, but I guess my voice does not carry to the back, right? Because I don't have the mic. So I will be standing close to the mic out here. But so with that, the 5 questions. The first question that I would like to talk about is about what is AI. I see several young faces, faces that are in different universities out here, studying different fields, robotics, mechanical, electrical, computer science, whatever have you. So, to set the field, to ensure that we are all on the same page, let's start by talking about what is AI. That is one of the questions on the quiz at the end of it. And then we will talk about will AI take over the world? Okay, we will do that. And then the other questions, which I will not talk about right now. But let's start with what is AI? What are AI systems? Let's start with that. By the way, if some of you attended Chris' talk yesterday, he had a keynote yesterday, you heard him talk about the train. We are, as humans are at the back of the train, and the train, the AI train, has left the station. And we need to figure out how do we ensure that the AI train does good things for humanity, not bad things for humanity. So let's talk about what does the train do. So AI system, any AI system, if you look at it, can be boiled down to a very simple system like what you see on the screen. This AI system takes in a bunch of data. There is a model associated with it, and the model makes some decisions, makes some predictions, can help make some inferences. Nothing new there. In fact, you all have had experience with model. Think about the mental models that you all have. Many of you might drive here. How many of you do drive here? Well, I don't drive in Panama City, but I do drive back in the US. Okay, some of you do drive, but think about driving. You have a mental model in your brain that when you sit in the driver's seat, you got to turn left, turn right, gas pedal. It's a mental model in your brain. So similarly, the AI system has a model. The AI system takes some data in, and the AI system makes some predictions. Okay, this will let me move around as opposed to just being stuck there. Thanks. So what I was talking about is the AI system. If you boil it down, it takes data in, there is a model there, and the model makes decisions or predictions. That is an AI system in very simple terms. Any AI system can be boiled down to this. And so the question is, how do you create the models? To create the models, you need lot of data. As you see here, you need lot of data, what we call as the historical data. Historical data has some patterns. You give the historical data to some algorithms. They could be simple algorithms. They could be complicated algorithms. But these algorithms will create the model for you. And once the model is created, you can then use the model for whatever decisions you need to make. For example, I use Google Maps quite a bit to go from one place to the other. The Google Maps model has, when the model was created, they had these cars driving around trying to collect data about the paths. In addition to that, they would collect data about the traffic and all that. The model has been created. And now once I fire up the Google app on my phone, the model fires up. It asks me the data is what location to what location, from where to where, and then it collects data about the traffic, and then it tells me what route to take, how many minutes it might take. So that's the decision, that's the prediction that the model makes. In fact, if you think about it, ChatGPT also does something similar. How many of you here have used ChatGPT here? Raise your hand. Okay, so pretty much many of you, a majority of you have used ChatGPT, right? And many a times, you might have been surprised with the nice responses that you get from ChatGPT. Again, if you boil it down, you can think of it as something like this. They took a lot of data that was present on the internet, pre-2021, September 2021, and they fed it to some complicated algorithms. And that's how they created the ChatGPT model. And now the ChatGPT model, you provide prompts when you go to the website, and it makes decisions for you. But if you still boil it down to simple terms, I like to call as ChatGPT as autocomplete on steroids. How many of you know about autocomplete? Okay, when you're typing out an email, you get autocomplete. The email, the rest of the email says. But if you think about the basic technology of ChatGPT, it's nothing but autocomplete on steroids. It's predicting the next word. That's what ChatGPT is doing, but it does it in such a manner that you are all surprised. Okay? That's what the AI system there does. And so, you might say, what's the big deal about these models? We have these mental models in our brain. I have been creating models in software. But the big deal about the AI systems, the models in AI systems, they can change automatically without human involvement as long as they get more data. Okay? As you keep feeding more data, the model figures out that I'm no longer in the United States, I'm in Panama City, and it figures out how to drive in the roads of Panama City. The rules might be different in a particular place, but the model updates itself. So that's how the model is scalable, that's how the model is efficient. Okay? And so, you don't depend on humans to modify the code. That is the magic of AI systems. If you have a system that does not change over a period of time, if you have a system with a model that does not change over a period of time, I wouldn't call that as an AI system. Although in the past, Humans have called some such systems as AI systems, but I would like a model to be able to change over a period of time when the environment changes. So, different tools. AI provides many different tools to create the model. Again, it's all about creating that model. You see that model that, oops, I went through. The model that you see there, the model that is making the decision, how do you create that model very efficiently? That is what AI is about. Different ways of creating that model. Something called supervised learning, so that's quite widely used. That's why you see a big circle there. Something else called unsupervised learning, smaller circle, reinforcement learning, still smaller circle. There are different ways of creating the model that you have seen there. I'm not going to talk about all these different details. That will take me into the weeds. But if any of you is interested, definitely feel free to reach out to me after the talk. And so, ChatGPT uses something called generative AI to create the model that you experience when you use ChatGPT. And so with that, let's go back to this. What is one of the important parts of the AI system? It's the model. It's the data. Okay? If you don't have good data, then the model might be wrong. If you don't have good data to create the model, the model might be wrong and various things. So that's where having good data, having unbiased data is very important. And that's why some people have considered data to be the new oil. Okay? So this was several years back. Okay? Not my original idea, but data is the new oil of the digital economy. I think it was in 2016 or something on Wired, several years back. So data is the new oil. So think about how important oil is. Similarly, data is also quite important. By the way, am I going too fast for you folks? Are you all able to follow me? Anybody who's been able to follow me, raise your hand if you've been able to follow me so far. Okay, I still see some people here either shy or not able to follow me. If you're not, open up your Google Translate and you can see it converted into Spanish. I've been doing that, sitting there. I mean, people might have seen me looking at my phone, but really I was looking at Google Translate when we had Spanish speakers up here, and I was like, okay, what is the speaker talking about? Okay, a while back, the speaker was saying, okay, we'll start the agenda in 5 minutes and stuff like that. So definitely feel free to do that. I will not be offended. So data is the new oil of the digital economy. And if data is the new oil, what does it make AI? AI is considered to be the new electricity. One of the leading figures in the space, Andrew Ng, he called data or AI as the new electricity. So think about that analogy. AI is a general purpose technology. And yesterday somebody was asking me, hey, will AI transform my industry? My position, AI is going to transform every industry where you have enough data, where the data has certain patterns present in it. If it's a completely brand new industry without enough data, no patterns there, then it would be difficult for AI to make a difference in that space. Think of it that way. But otherwise, AI will transform every industry just like what electricity did. So that is what is AI. So if I ask you what is AI, you can say AI is like electricity. It's going to transform every industry. Think of it that way. And if you want to dive down into a little bit into the details, think of the role that data plays when you talk about building AI systems. Data is very important in building AI systems as it stands now. Let me pause here. By the way, if any of you would like to ask questions even in the middle of my talk, feel free to do so. Okay? Happy to answer any questions that you have. That gives me a moment to grab to grab a gulp of water. Okay, no questions? Everybody's good? Okay, let's keep going. So then the next question is, will AI take over the world? How many of you here think that AI is going to take over the world? Okay, I see at least one hand raised, two hands. Okay, a few at the back. Let's talk about that, okay? Will AI take over the world? And give me 5 minutes and see whether I can convince you one way or the other. Of course, Many people talk about it. Software ate the world, AI is eating software. Chat GPT is coming for your job, AI only to apply, humans not needed. Okay? Artificial intelligence coming for your job. Anyone who says otherwise is in denial. And so, especially those of you who are starting out in your careers, who are at the university stage, you might be like, man, why are we studying this? We don't need to do it. Just let's sit at home, watch TV, play video games, enjoy. Not really the case. You will see that hopefully shortly. And further, even some of the leading voices in the industry were recently calling for some sort of a pause on the GPT-like technologies, the chat GPT-like technologies and all that. So does it mean that it's doom, gloom, and more doom? My opinion is I'm not in that bucket. I believe AI is going to be a great assistant for humans, but AI will not replace humans. It will take away some jobs, but it will create many other jobs. And so, how many have tried this? How many of you have tried this with ChatGPT? Did you ask ChatGPT to reverse the word lollipop? Anybody here tried this? If not, if you have a, look at the answer. I asked ChatGPT, can you reverse, remember, reverse the letters of the word lollipop. It should be P-O-P-I-L-L-O, whatever it is, and look at what ChatGPT gave me. It gave me something that was a crazy answer, okay? ChatGPT has wowed you with the answers that you might have asked. But then when you ask it a simple question like this, many times it fails. Lately I have seen, sometimes it gives me the right answer. But many other times it gives the answer, nothing made up. I just asked ChatGPT that question and it came back with a crazy answer. So the point I want to make is on some tasks, AI, ChatGPT, and the other forms of AI are very powerful. AI is very powerful on some tasks, but on many other tasks, including that simple task of reversing the letters of the word lollipop, ChatGPT fails miserably. So why is that? Or let's talk about AI systems. Remember, a while back, I showed you a very simple way of understanding AI systems. Data comes in, goes to the model, model makes decisions, predictions, inferences, whatever have you, and we talked about how do we create models. And if you think about it there, to create the model, what did we need to create the model? Anyone here? Data. We needed a lot of data, what I call as the historical data. You needed the historical data to create the model. And that is what is needed for AI systems, large amount of data. Whereas think about you, how do you learn? When you learn, sometimes you might look at just one or two examples and you are like, okay, I get it. If you need it, if you go to a new organization, you get a new job, and you wanted examples and examples and examples for 2 months, 3 months, something like that, your boss is gonna fire you. The boss is gonna say, hey, I don't need you, okay? The boss might give you examples for 2 or 3 hours max, and then the boss will expect you to understand the model and understand how the whole job works and figure it out. So that is one thing. Humans can learn new tasks with a very few examples. AI cannot. It needs a lot of data. You need to do a lot of processing of the data. You need to ensure that the data is unbiased and all that other stuff, which I'm not getting into the details of. Again, in 30 minutes, I can't get into the nitty-gritty details. I don't want to get into the weeds. But one thing you have to remember, AI systems to be built need a lot of data. Humans typically don't need. In addition to that, if you are sometimes in your life, you have been learning different skills at the university, robotics, electrical, writing code, and all that stuff. And if you are faced with a new task that you have not seen before, what do? You try to apply your common sense, and then you try to figure out, how do I solve this problem? The AI systems can't do that, okay? So that's another place where humans will shine. That's another place where AI systems currently have a big drawback over humans. But what are the advantages of AI systems? They can solve problems where you have a lot of data and where the same thing is done in the same manner over and over again, like Google Maps. Okay, if you got to go from one place to the other place, it's the same thing that's done over and over again. You got to go figure out source and the origin. You got to figure out the destination. You got to figure out the traffic patterns, and then you got to figure out how do I go, which path do I take, and all that stuff. So things like that, which require quite a bit of number crunching, same way over and over again, lot of data. AI systems are definitely better than humans. Okay, some of the areas now as a result of ChatGPT are the customer operations, the marketing sales, creating websites, creating the copy and stuff like that for the websites or the various brochures and all that stuff, as well as in the field of software engineering. How many of you here are studying to be a software engineer, writing code and all that stuff, especially, okay, I see one hand raised, only one. I thought there would be a lot more people who are into coding and all that. But have you tried out using ChatGPT to help you with your code? Or one of those. I mean, I use ChatGPT as an example. You have Google Bard, you have the Anthropic's Claude and other ones. But anybody here use ChatGPT to help you write your own code, right? In some languages, ChatGPT does a pretty good job, but still it's not all the way there. I could see somebody there raise their hand. So I recently tried that out with a new language. I also dabble in crypto. So there's a language in crypto called Solidity. I recently had to write some code in Solidity. I have not studied Solidity, but I do a lot of my programming in Python, which is one of the widely used languages in the AI space. And I started using ChatGPT to complete this project in Solidity. And let me just tell you this. Yes, I could complete the project in about 4 hours without knowing any Solidity code. If I did not have ChatGPT, I might have spent about 2 to 3 days learning Solidity and trying to figure it out and all that. And if I knew Solidity, that whole project was about a 1 hour job or something like that. I'm just trying to give an idea about the acceleration that GPT technologies, AI will bring, make the whole thing more efficient. So, going back now, as I told you, AI cannot deal with new problems for which you don't have data. AI systems need a lot of data. And so it's ChatGPT also, as I told you, is like autocomplete on steroids. That's what it is, ultimately, if you boil it down into very simple terms. So these technologies are not sufficient to take over the world. Well, if you think about it, when electricity was invented, maybe people thought electricity is going to take over the world. But did electricity take over the world over the last 100 years? It has not. But electricity has made our life very easy. It made it very easy for me to speak here. And now you can all hear me and all those other things with electricity, even automobiles and all that stuff these days. Okay? So that is the second question. Will AI take over the world? So how many of you still think that AI will take over the world at this point in time? Okay, good to hear that. I have still not convinced you. Happy to talk to you outside after the talk or during the Q&A, okay, to see your point of view. But anybody else? How many of you think AI will not take over the world? Okay, a lot more hands, but still there are some people. You got to be either in the yes, it will take over the world, or no, it will not take over the world. You can't be somewhere straddling in between, right? Or maybe you are like, I don't know, maybe it will take over, maybe it will not take over. We will see. Some of you might have 50, 60 years. I don't have 50 years to see that, right? Some of us don't have that. But anyhow, so that's the second one. I am of the camp which believes that AI will not take over the world at this point in time, based on what we know. Let's go to the next one. Okay, the next question is, how can we benefit from building AI systems, learning about building AI systems, and all of that stuff? Okay, so as I told you, the most most of the developments in the AI space were in the area of what is called as supervised learning. Again, it's one way to build models. Think of it that way. Okay, models is what we have been talking about. Supervised learning is one way to build models. And now, a different way of building those models is this approach of what is called as generative AI. That is what ChatGPT is about. Okay? In this, using this approach of building models, we can now have solutions in days as opposed to months. Look at my example of Solidity code that I gave you a while back. It would have taken me about 2 to 3 days to create the project, to develop the project and deploy it and all that, if I did not have ChatGPT, given that I did not know Solidity. But with help from ChatGPT, I could do it within about 4 hours is what I spent. Of course, if I knew Solidity, it would have been much faster. But that's what, solution in days as opposed to months in several cases. I can also give some examples where ChatGPT was not very helpful. We also work, as I told you, right? I'm also working on the startup, and we needed some JavaScript React code to be developed for our front end. And there, ChatGPT failed miserably. Okay, so there are some areas where ChatGPT cannot help. The level of complexity is still not there, but I expect that will be addressed over the next period of time. But anyhow, going back, as I told you, using generative AI, you can develop solutions very fast. And then people also found out that the quality of the solutions will be much better if you use these GPT technologies, if you use these AI technologies. You don't have to understand the nitty-gritty details of what this graph says, except for the fact that AI systems will help improve the quality of the output, the quality of the decision, the quality of the prediction that has to be made. And I took that from the reference that you see there. That's why I just took it verbatim. But all that it tells you is, if you use GPT, and if the people who are building these systems, who are writing the code, use GPT, the quality will be higher than when you don't use these GPT technologies. So two things: you can develop systems much faster, and the quality of the systems will be much better than if you don't use AI systems. So does it mean that it will replace all of our jobs? Not really. The way I look at it is, it will increase demand for AI-based solutions. Okay, and there will be more jobs created in some areas, and of course some areas will be impacted, especially people with skills that can be easily learned by GPT like technologies. Those might be somewhat of a problem, but definitely more jobs will be created in other areas. And so the lesson for everybody here, students, people running organizations, people working in different areas, look at how can you adopt AI in your organization, or you might be left behind because your competitors might take advantage of AI to develop solutions faster, cheaper, better, and all that stuff. Okay? So, and you also got to ensure that people in your team are AI literate. They understand what AI can do and what AI cannot do. What are the basic concepts of AI? That's what you got to do for people in your organization. And this benefits definitely the organizations and the individuals also. So that is how can we benefit from AI. So how to benefit from AI? Become your organization that is AI literate, and that's the main reason, understand. So that will help you improve the quality, faster, cheaper ways of deploying the solutions. So with that, is it all hunky-dory? Is it all nirvana, as they say, when you adopt AI? Not really the case. Let's talk about some aspects of challenges when you're building AI systems. Again, there are quite a few of those. I'll just talk about some now. First of all, if you think that AI system is going to be your boss and you don't treat the AI systems as your assistant, but treat it as a boss, you see it control to the AI systems, you might have problems, as was done by this attorney. Probably some of you have seen this. Otherwise, you should definitely Google. There was an attorney who wanted to build a case, and he asked ChatGPT for help, and ChatGPT created all sorts of crazy, not just crazy, but fake cases. And the attorney took all that and filed the brief or whatever the attorneys do. I met a couple of attorneys yesterday. I'm sure you relate to this. They filed the whole paperwork in the court, and then it was found out that ChatGPT was faking some of the use cases. Those attorneys were fined for filing bogus case law created by ChatGPT, as you see there. So you need to understand the limitations of some of these systems. And I also want to point out that the Gen AI, the GPT-like solutions that are out there, you might encounter people who say, oh, we are using AI for the predicting for addressing the logistics problems. We are using AI for some aspects of biology. We are using aspects for some aspect of understanding the biological systems and various other things. And especially if they're using that new thing that has come up, remember the new thing that has come up? This one, the generative AI, the chat GPT technology, that is still what I call as demo quality. It is not production quality. Lot of challenges in ensuring you can get a very good demo, but if you want to build a system that does a very good job day in and day out when dealing with millions of people, billions of people, there are some challenges there that you got to watch out for. And of course, you also have other things, bias, ethics, regulations. I'm not getting into all of that. If I start doing it, maybe I'll do it for those people who fail the quiz, right? The next hour will be all about bias, ethics, and regulations. If you fail here, well, that will definitely put you to sleep. Good. Yes. So the question was, I can repeat the question. The question was, how many more years do you think we will have the demo quality associated with solutions that leverage ChatGPT or ChatGPT-like approach? Is that a fair question? Well, I don't think it will be years. It has to be months because, for example, we are building a solution in the educational technology space using the GPT-like technology, and we cannot wait years. It has to be months, or else we as a startup will go out of business. So some of the startups in this space had to innovate fast and figure out how to go from the demo quality to the production quality. One of the challenges that we are facing internally, we have done quite a bit of advancement, but still not all the way there. So maybe I would say months. And the same thing goes, I mean, startups definitely run out of money quite fast, but even big companies, if they don't innovate fast enough, they might be left out. And the other thing is, even if you look at these big companies that are building the GPT-like models that we take advantage of, OpenAI, Google, Facebook, Anthropic, they are also, the innovation, the pace of innovation there is also quite fast. So in a few months, this is something that we should be able to address. But in some areas, in some other areas, it might take longer. Okay? Good. So I talked about 4 questions so far. Okay? What is AI? Will AI take over the world? How can we benefit from that? What are the perils that companies should watch out for? Again, I did not go into the details. A lot more details there, especially the bias aspect of it, regulation aspect of it, all those things. But at the same time, AI does provide, the AI solutions, I mean, the AI solutions do provide, do help address some of the problems that we humans cannot solve. And so let's talk about what's coming down the pipe. This is again related to what the person asked a while back. So we are getting better AI models. I mean, you have seen ChatGPT, they say it's based on, at least the original version was GPT-3, 3.5, 4, and now Google is supposed to be coming out with something called Gemini, for those of you who might have heard about it. The point is, without getting into the nitty-gritty details, there is a fast development in the AI space, better and better models that can be leveraged by other startups, other companies to build solutions in specific areas, in the fintech area, in the edtech area, okay, in the traditional financial area and stuff like that, okay? And using this, application development can be quite fast. We saw a while back that the generative AI technology helps us develop solutions faster, better quality solutions, all of that stuff. And I also expect that we will start seeing something like personalized models. What I mean by that? For example, I told you, I don't understand Spanish. So to understand what the Spanish speakers were talking about, I would use Google Translate, and I'm looking at my phone to see what the person is saying. But maybe I would like to have, and further, the same thing when I'm going out in the street, talking to the various Uber drivers or the other drivers. But if I could have an app as a model sitting out there, and feeding stuff into my ears or saying something in my voice, because I'm sure even if I can read it, I'm going to make a mess out of the accent and how to pronounce some of the words and stuff like that. So that's what I mean by a personalized model. People are working on, you see, the GPT-like model cannot run on my phone right now. But in the future, people are working on how to compress it, make it all these personalized models that we can all make use of. Translation is just one aspect of it. Many different things. I might face some problems in my work, or I might need some information in my work. My model can just fire up and says, this is the information, these are the meetings that you had with this person in the past, this is what you agreed on, this is what has been completed. It's like an assistant to me sitting right over there. That's what I expect in the long run. And so, plan for an AI future, and those companies that are sitting on a lot of data, definitely plan, definitely look at how can you leverage it. You are sitting on a gold mine with the data that you have collected over the last 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, whatever have you. And those people who are still in college, you can look at some websites where data is freely available. So that, and there are many YouTube channels, there are many other places where you can educate yourself about how to build AI system. One interesting resource that comes to my mind that I also tell my students is this website called deeplearning.ai. Anybody here who has heard about it? Okay, anybody else? If not, check out deep, learning.ai. They are releasing quite a few 1 hour, 2 hours, very short courses, free courses. You don't have to pay anything for those courses. They are trying to democratize how to build AI systems and all that stuff. Okay? And remember, AI is the new electricity. And if you would like more help, Harrisburg University, we have a presence here in Panama City also to increase the human capital in areas of science and technology. We also have various degree programs, different areas. And finally, this is all in Spanish given to me by my colleague, Kevin Huggins. So in different ways, micro-credentials, you can get detailed certificate courses, degree programs, all of that stuff. Just one approach. I mean, you have many different ways. As I told you, deeplearning.ai makes free courses available, especially for those of you who want to get into understanding how can we build these generative AI systems. And so AI is the new electricity, and AI combined with a human will make us superhumans. So one by itself is not a superhuman, but we can become superhumans by leveraging the capabilities that AI provides. So that concludes my talk. So that addresses the fifth question about what is coming, how can you take advantage of it going forward. So with that, any questions? Sure. The question there. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for the presentation. How do you foresee the AI working, for example, in the health sector? Like,
There's a lot of activity towards how can you use the generative AI to create new type of drugs for the, I mean, genome sequencing, it is a lot of data that needs to be crunched. You can use the generative AI approach, the chat GPT-like approach, to figure out new combinations that might work. And in the long run, my expectation is it will lead to something like what I call as personalized medicine. What I mean by that, think about it. My body is different than your body. But right now, if we have a particular disease, we both get the same medicine, same dosage. But my body would require a different dosage compared to your body. Common cold, they give the same drug to every one of us. Something else, they give the same drug to every one of us. But our bodies are different. And that's what I expect the generative AI technologies to help towards the approach of developing personalized medicine. That's the holy grail in my mind in that space. And some companies have already started working on it. If I was not working on this educational technology, that was another area that I was sort of dabbling in, making life better for humans, but by helping treat diseases more efficiently for different people. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, what is your opinion is some points with see AI in human robots and work in affect components? Yeah, the mic.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question
Yeah,
again?
yeah, mi English no es
If
perfect.
you want, you can say it in Spanish. Somebody else can translate it also, I think.
Bueno, ah, ¿cuál es tu opinión si en algún momento vemos las IAs en los robots humanoides y estos afectarían a las empresas? Bueno. What is your opinion? Is at some points we see IA in human robots and work these affect components. Components.
Can Oh, okay. Come on. Yeah. So if I understand the question was, how do I see AI combined with humanoids, not with humans, and how would that affect the companies? By the way, one thing I would like to point out is what Chris was talking about yesterday. When you are developing solutions, when you as a company is developing solutions, you definitely got to keep in mind the human aspect of it, that you're solving some problems for humans. So with that said, a good question. So I expect AI plus humanoid, again, to be as an AI system in one way. So that will work along with humans to create these superhuman systems. So that is a AI system. Anything that does not involve real humans, I consider that as an AI system. If you think about it, you can boil it down to an AI system. It has a model, it's getting data, it's making predictions. Okay? And I boiled it down into very simple terms. But by the way, remember, the model that I talked about in one of the early slides, I won't get into that, but that is that can be made up of multiple smaller models. One of the models is that of a humanoid, another model can just be a software model, another could be some other model. So all those have to work together. And that is one huge AI system in this simple description of AI systems. Okay, so the real humans will have to work with that and they will create the superhuman systems. Good. Sorry, I took a little while to understand your question.
Here is another
I should
question.
have fired up my Google Translator, I guess.
Yeah,
Yes.
another question. Yeah, thank you for your talk. Yesterday you mentioned that you were in the EdTech space. Could you explain what is your experience using this, especially the generative technology in this space of education? Thank you.
Sure. So there is quite a bit of activity. I mean, the question, by the way, for those of you who might not have heard about it, is my comments about the use of generative AI in the space of educational technology, EdTech. Let me ask you this. How many of you here are, to answer your question, I'll answer your question, but I'll ask a question to the audience. How many of you here are students at a university? And so, and how many of you get these assignments are given to you by your professors or instructors or teachers? How many of you, especially the written assignments and stuff like that, how many of you get it? Nobody? Okay, there are some. You should, many of you should get it, right? And what's your experience when you get those assignments graded? Well, think about it. I'm a professor, and I try not to give too many written assignments or assignments that require a lot of writing to my students. Why? If there are many students, I'm spending a lot of time grading it. Okay? That's one aspect of it. Another aspect of it is different students have different modes of learning. Some require a particular problem to be explained 10 times before they understand what the concept is. Some can understand the concept within just one or two examples. We all have different brains. So this is how people are trying to use, now to answer your question, this is how people are planning to use generative AI in the field of educational technology. For example, how many of you here have heard about the Khan Academy? Okay? Many of you heard about Khan Academy, right? They are very much in the educational space. Now they have started something called Khan Migo. Has anybody heard about Khan Migo? Yeah, there are some of you. I would urge you to check out Khan Migo. What they do is they approach it from the student's perspective and try to make it adaptive, try to use generative AI to have some sort of a chat with the student and try to understand what is it that the student, it's more adaptive based on who the student is. Similarly, what we are also trying to do is trying to look at it from an instructor perspective. I'm an instructor, I'm a professor, I have my problems, I want to help my students learn better, but I have only 24 hours in a day. If I start giving assignment every week, Of course, the students will not like me. That's a separate story. But even for me to do justice, if I give assignments every week, for me to provide the detailed feedback is not possible currently. But generative AI, the GPT-like technology, can be used to help address those problems. Okay? So those are some of the ways in which, from the student perspective, from the teacher perspective, and also you can look at it from the administrator's perspective, you can provide a quick feedback to the administrator to tell them how are the students doing, what is the level, how are the teachers doing. So multiple ways in which generative AI can be used, again, towards the goal of personalized education. Education that is targeted for each of the students' capabilities. Currently, it's not possible with the limitations of humans and limitations of time and all that stuff. But generative AI will make, just like personalized medicine I was talking about, personalized education will also be possible with the generative AI, the ChatGPT-like technology.
Hi, hello. Thank you for your talk. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about the ethical considerations of AI? For example, bias in algorithms, privacy, etc.
All those are good problems to have to keep people like me employed for a long time. Okay, so that, but those are all good problems, research problems. A lot of people are looking at it from different angles. Some of those, I mean, ethics, etc. I completely get it. It's a very important problem to look at, but not my area of strength. I don't look at AI, but ethics, regulations, privacy, all those are very important problems to solve before especially the generative AI type of solutions can become widespread. Okay, there are problems there. And people are looking at how to solve those problems. So that's where researchers will be busy looking at those problems. But a good problem, especially kids, young kids who are in college and trying to look at, okay, what do I do if you're interested in the research aspect of it and all that, get into universities, and these are some good problems for you to think about from a research perspective. Okay? Go ahead.
Well, I think it's kind of similar, and I asked you before, is when you talk about prediction, it's based on data, historical data. How do we know that our own biases are not interfering with the output? Is it possible that the model can make inferences where like make the distinction between what is actually, because it's all logical, right? It's logical prediction, but how about behavioral psychology applied to marketing, economics?
Mhm.
How can we tell the difference? Or the model can tell the difference?
It's a difficult problem because if the data has some biases associated with it, the predictions of remember again, the data is used to create the models are used to make the prediction. If the initial data itself has biases, then if you're not watching out closely, then the biases might go through as part of the decision making and prediction and stuff like that. So what you got to do when you are building the AI systems, you got to figure out, what do you think, how do you define those biases? Okay, so it's again not an easy problem. I'm not trying to make the problem sound easy. It's a difficult problem. I mean, sometimes you might not realize it because you have that bias in your head. You might be like, yeah, the data is there, the decisions are coming out correctly. So probably that's where using diverse set of people, eyes of diverse set of people, and paying attention to the fact that what you might have built. So it's not like my baby is not ugly. You might have built a AI model that you consider as your baby, but the baby might be ugly. If somebody is telling you, pay attention to that. Okay, so that's what I would suggest.
Okay, better question. How will you address that? Like, how you set the parameters to make the difference?
Easy way for me to do it, as opposed to hiring a lot of people, would be to release the product and keep a close eye. Remember, as Amazon's approach, customer is always right. Keep an eye out on the people who are using the model and see what they are seeing. What is the feedback that you're getting from the people for the first few months of the product having been launched? I'm a startup guy, so I like to figure out the low-cost solution towards this approach. I would just release it. I'm not sitting on it trying to polish it, make it unbiased. I make it, release it, people use it and say, hey guys, there might have been some issues. I appreciate your feedback. Give me 5-star, give me 1-star, give me some comments. Take those comments into consideration and then try to look at the comments in a unbiased fashion to the extent that you can. Don't consider your baby to be the most prettiest baby. It might be ugly, and then figure out how can you polish it. That would be my approach towards solving that problem.
Fuerte el aplauso para el profesor FAROOQ.
Thank you all. Thanks for your time.
Bueno, vamos a hacer un receso y les invitamos al recorrido por